Well, hey, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for
Appreciate it.
reaching out.
Well, it's funny. I've been trying to really get, in the groove with the core members and personally talk to everybody. And I just happened to run across that old blog or article while I was, rearranging some stuff. And,
Yeah.
the pictures, let me see if I can share my screen for just a second. Let's see if I have it up. There we go. The pictures of Milo are super cute.
Yeah. Oh, I miss that boy so much.
So tell me about Milo. Tell me a little bit about
Mm.
him.
He was quite the personality. Um, I got Milo when I graduated from college when I was 25. And it was him and I pretty much most of his life. Um, when he was a pup, I think every day he was like, how can I get into the most amount of mischief and try to off myself today? Um, he ate razor blades when he was 6 months old. I mean, in true lab sense, he ate everything he possibly could find.
Wow.
He had quite the personality. I know that I'm not supposed to be doing this, um, but I don't care what the consequences are. I'm going to do it anyway. He was just so much fun. Um, Him and I moved about 2 hours away from our hometown when he was two.
Mhm.
And so we just spent the time exploring new dog parks, new places for him to go swimming, anywhere where he could be with his ball in the water. He was the happiest boy in the entire world.
Oh, cool.
Um, put up with me putting him into costumes and dressing him up as an elf every Christmas and all that.
Hmm. Oh,
So,
there, he's in good company because we have Emma the elf dog, and she
oh,
used to give me such looks about, I cannot believe you're doing this. At least Milo smiled at you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was a tradition every year for Christmas. On the back of our Christmas card, I'd put a picture of him in the elf costume, and then I'd put a quote from the elf movie underneath it. So it was fun, coming up with different quotes every year. I think I started that when he was like 5 and continued it all the way until 13,
Oh,
the
wow.
last Christmas. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So 13. Actually, that's a great age,
Yeah.
13.
Yeah. He was diagnosed with cancer when he was 7, and the vet gave him 3 to 6 months.
Mhm.
And I had him for another 6 years after that. It
That
was
is so awesome. Now, what
yeah,
kind of cancer was it?
mast cell.
Mast cell. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So he had a couple of lumps removed. Our vet referred us to an oncologist because of the frequency they were popping up.
Hmm.
Um, and when they did a scan, they found it on his spleen, which they said is
Oh,
usually the last place that it goes, not the first place. But in his case, it was only on his spleen at that point. So chemo worked. He thrived. You never would have known he was undergoing treatment, and he rocked it. I think he did chemo on and off for 9 months before they declared him cancer free, and then we went in for a couple months of
rejects.
scan, and then up to a year scan, and yeah,
Well, that's awesome. So
yeah,
6 years survivor.
mhm, yeah,
That is so awesome.
yeah. It
Wow.
was yeah crazy.
Well, tell me then, how did you find the mast cell cancer?
So the first one was a lump on his chest, and it was hairless
Hmm.
and a little red, and it seemed to be changing size day by day. And I'm like, well, that's really weird. So then I started Googling, like, what is this weird lump, on my dog's chest? And came across, a few articles talking about the different lumps that dogs can get and how to tell what they are.
Hmm.
And if it's changing size, that's concerning. You should go see your vet. And
Right.
that's when I made the first appointment. And then they took a little sample and came back and said it. So they took it off, and he had a huge scar on his chest because the margins, they have to
Yeah.
try to make sure they get it all. And they thought, oh, he's fairly young yet. This is probably just a one-off, no big deal.
Right.
So, and then 2 months later, another one popped up on his head with the same distinguishing marks.
Okay. And so was it after the second one, the one that came on his head, was that when you started to, did you remove that one and then look further, or you just kind of kept tabs on it after that?
So that one, I have to credit my vet because I brought him in, they tested it, they came back and said it's a mast cell. She gave me the option to remove it, but she said, I'm a little concerned that these came up 2 months and, so close to each other. I'd
Mhm.
really like you to go see the oncologist. So we
Right.
went to see the oncologist, and even he was like, I'm sure it's just a coincidence, not a big deal, but we'll do a scan anyway.
Right.
So had she not recommended that he go see him, had the oncologist not been, okay, we'll do a scan. I don't think it's anything.
Hmm.
I don't think we would have caught it. I would have just kept having him removed.
Right.
Um, Eventually that one with chemo went away,
Hmm.
and then it came back about maybe 6 months into treatment. So we adjusted the treatment a little bit, and then it went away again and never came back.
Right. Awesome. And
Yeah.
that was the power of the chemo with that.
Yeah.
Did you do anything in addition to the chemo? Were you doing any kind of alternative therapies with it or
Yep. So I
complementary?
did, I brought him, well, once he started to get older, I brought him to a chiropractor. We did some sessions of acupuncture.
Hmm.
I looked into supplements. I met with a veterinary nutritionist. I started making his food for him, but
Hmm.
I completely credit one, the chemotherapy, obviously, but I also credit the food that I was giving him as helping to extend his life and give him as long with me as I did.
Right. Now, when you made your own food, because we've done a lot of research about that, and that's, it's scary sometimes because that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Um, and there are
Mhm.
a lot of vets that they don't recommend it. I mean,
Mhm.
for healthy dogs and stuff like that. But cancer dogs, you start to look more for stuff like that. What kind of
Yeah.
direction and guidance did you have putting together that kind of a menu?
So, so it started with actually a little bit before he was diagnosed with cancer because he had, I mean, if IBS is a thing in dogs, Milo was the poster child for it, or the poster dog for it.
Mhm.
And I kept thinking, like, I kept switching dog foods, trying this one, comparing ingredients. What is it that's triggering him?
Right.
And so then I decided to do one of those where you can send in and get an allergy test done
Right.
to kind
Right.
of see if there are some big triggers there.
Hmm.
And then bought a book by Dr. Karen Becker, I think her name is. She's a veterinary nutritionist. She wrote a book on how to cook for your dogs. And I
Right.
kind of had it sitting on the shelf. And then when he was diagnosed with cancer and given 3 to 6 months, I gave myself a couple of days to kind of grieve that news. And
Hmm.
then I thought, okay, we're gonna get into let's do something about this mode. And so I took the book out, read the book, bought all the supplements, bought all the stuff, stood in my kitchen completely overwhelmed because I had no idea what I was doing, how much to feed him, anything. It was completely overwhelming.
Hmm.
But eventually just kind of got myself into a routine. I'm from the Midwest, so people would go deer hunting and then they would give me some of their venison or the organs from the deer. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, I don't recommend cooking and cutting up deer tongue or cow tongue, but it's a thing.
Oh, the things that we learn for the dogs that we love so much.
Yes. It was a running joke. I'd take him for chemo on Fridays, and since he couldn't have breakfast before chemo, I'd bring his meal in. I would joke that Milo's eating better than the rest of them who have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and Milo's got all this cooked meat and veggies and fruit in there. In fact, I still run into the oncologist with another group that I foster or that I volunteer with called SARS Promise.
Mhm.
And he's like, I will never forget Milo and his magnificent, extraordinary meals that he would come in with every week.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
and what I'm loving about being able to talk to you today is the smile on your face. Okay, we're talking about a heavy subject that,
Mhm.
brings a lot of people to tears, and rightly so. But the one thing that I'm seeing is great memories, not just, not letting cancer overwhelm your life, but actually doing something about it and still having a connection with the oncologist is amazing, with your
Yeah.
other dog work and stuff like that. And
It's been a while since someone's asked me about him. And, it usually most days it's tears that come, right? Thinking about how sad I am that he's not here with me anymore and stuff. But talking like this brings up, when you're like, tell me about him, I'm like, oh boy, where do I start? Just the biggest personality in the world. But it actually next month will be 3 years since
Mhm.
he passed. And I find that I don't get to talk about him as much as I used to or as much as I want to.
Mhm.
So this is
Well, let
a
me
big
ask a
change.
question about how you do get to talk about them, because this is what I've found.
Mhm.
Um, when you get the Christmas ornaments out, it starts a conversation about who these dogs are and how important they were to us in our life and everything like that. And so I'm wondering,
Yeah.
is it the same way when you pull the Christmas ornaments out and you see his name and
Yeah. Well, and this year is a little special because my boyfriend and I have been together for 3.5 years, and we just bought a house and moved in together in June. We moved in together in June, bought a house in August. So we finally have a space to put up a tree together. I put up a tree every year, and most of my tree is Milo ornaments. I have ever since Milo was diagnosed and I joined as a core member, I have every year since then. And I just ordered mine yesterday too when it launched.
awesome.
Um, so my tree is kind of a dedicated memorial Milo Christmas tree, but I'm really excited to put that together this year with him and show him all of these
All the
things
difference.
that I have. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I just
Yeah.
think that's one of the wonderful things that allows us to keep our dogs with us, because we
Yeah.
pull out the ornaments, we tell the stories, and
Yeah. And well, so this is my office. I work from home and sometimes I have to teach. And so having a dinosaur on the wall is a really good you know, icebreaker. But at the same time, I also have my Milo memorial wall here.
aw,
So his
well, I
picture
love
on the
it.
wall and his urn is
Mhm.
up there with his favorite toy and a ball and that kind of stuff. So I get to look at him and look at that stuff every day too while
Oh,
I'm
that's
working.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you get to keep him with you.
Yeah.
I love it. I do. And when when I got my dogs, um, I didn't know anything about cancer. And I didn't know anything. I was in my 20s when I first got dogs, and
Mhm.
that was the first thing that, as an adult, I did. I took care of. I didn't, kill the plant. I killed the plant,
Yep.
but the dog lived. And
Yes.
I just didn't. I didn't picture when I brought home that little puppy, that we were going to have the troubles that we had, but also that 18 years later, we're still going to be talking about them and they're still going to be in our lives. And we're going to be doing something that honors them on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's really what's cool to me about a love of a dog
Yeah.
and
Uh,
the impression they make on your life.
very similar. I always joke like I can't keep plants alive, so I got a dog instead because at least he could try to tell me that he needed something when a plant can't. And the first night I brought him home, I should have known he was trouble then. He pooped in his kennel and I called my mom crying because I had no idea how to give a dog a bath. Like what am I doing here? This is insane. And the wild ride after was worth every moment and tear and heartache. And I wish I could do it again.
Mhm.
Um, and we have two labs now. I fostered after I lost Milo. I thought the best way that I could honor him um, without, getting my heart too attached was to foster.
Mhm.
So my very first foster was an 11-year-old chocolate lab who, speaking of dogs, 11-year-old chocolate lab who had her person had passed away and she had nowhere to go.
Aw.
And so I took her in 5 months after I lost Milo,
Mhm.
and she passed away from cancer 3 months later. We didn't
Oh,
even know
wow.
she had it.
Aw.
Uh, 0 out of 10 don't recommend that, right? Having to say goodbye to two dogs like that so soon.
Yeah.
Eighth foster is at the vet getting neutered today.
Oh, wow.
And I have two foster fails, and I love them. They're so sweet and special, but they are not.
Milo, they're not that guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I feel like there's something about having an animal for the first time, like you said, right? your
Oh, yeah.
20s, don't know what you're doing. There's just some sort of bond that you form.
Yeah, you go
Some
through a
people
lot
call
of
it a heart
firsts
dog.
together and,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. So, um, yeah, he'll always hold a special place in my heart.
awesome. Awesome.
These
Well,
two.
let me ask the other question is that how did you run across the foundation and decide to become a core member?
Yeah, so I think in my, I have this thing where if I feel like I'm stuck and I can't do something, I have to research, right? Like so we had the problem, it was cancer. There's we're gonna do chemo. I'm working on the diet, but what else? Like what else can I do? What else am I not doing? Kind of trying to like solve the problem without being able to solve the problem.
Absolutely.
And so I think it was a combination of like Googling about cancer in dogs, came
Hmm.
across the site. And at that time, I was like, I need all of the dog cancer merchandise I can possibly get my hands on,
Hmm.
and to do that, and just kind of like read more about the website and the mission, because until Milo was diagnosed with cancer, it never even crossed my mind that I would be in that situation, that he would be in that situation, that dogs face. I mean, I knew dogs got cancer, right? But
Right.
it just kind of smacked me right in the face.
Hmm.
Um, so read more about the website, about all the resources that are on there and stuff, and was like, this is a mission that I can get behind. This is near and dear to my heart. I hate that it took me having to be in this situation to find it.
Yeah.
But it kind of also makes you feel a little less alone, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a group of people out there that while no one wants to be in these shoes, everybody understands. There's a bit of like camaraderie around it. Um, and it was one of those things is like my work schedule at the time was so crazy. I can't volunteer somewhere, but what I can do is I can donate money to causes that I believe in and believe in their mission and stuff, and this is one that's completely near and dear to my heart.
Awesome.
So
Thank you. Thank you very
of
much.
course, yeah,
That's you just hit on everything that we try to do. We try and make you not feel alone. And like you're part of I don't know if you've seen Pause for Potter, Dr. Kyle.
yep, yep,
Yeah, she says we're all part of this club that we never wanted to join,
yep,
and you said that.
yeah,
And um
yeah.
it's amazing that we get to do that, even though we didn't want to, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It was several years ago and I can't even remember the reason why now, but you guys had sent me the pink paw print keychain,
Mhm.
and I had that on my keys. I mean, the pink was pretty much rubbed off of it. It was with me every day.
Mhm.
And then I lost my keys, and I could not have cared less about those keys. I was more heartbroken that I lost that keychain because
Oh,
it meant so much to me. I was just gutted, like, oh, and then I think I've checked the website a few times to see if you guys sell it.
yeah.
And I think at the time you didn't. Maybe you do now. It's been a
Mm.
bit since I've
No,
checked, but
it hasn't come back. And
oh, yeah,
it's something
yep,
we left exclusively for the core members, and so we'll
yeah.
possibly bring it back again for that.
That would be, I will buy it. I will absolutely buy it and put that back on my keys because, like I said, and it was a conversation starter, right? Like
Hmm.
sometimes people would see it and the paw print and the pink and like, oh, what's that? And
Okay.
something to bring up and talk about.
Well, that's awesome. That's what it's for, and
Yeah,
to remember and also to start a conversation. So that's really cool.
yeah.
Um, well, thank you. That's wonderful.